All right, so welcome to School of Life Sciences. How many of you are planning to take a major at SLS? No one? Raise your hand, raise your hand. No? So many of you are you admit through JUPAS 4601 and still deciding. How many of you are still deciding? Okay, many of you are still deciding. See whether I can convince you to come. Okay, so I'm Professor Jacky Ngo. I'm an associate professor here at SLS, and I'm also the associate director for the biochemistry program. Okay, so if you have particular questions on biochemistry, you can ask me questions afterwards. Actually, I'm also teaching cell and molecular biology, and then also a little bit of molecular biotechnology as well. So almost everything here except FNS, except the food and nutritional science, you can ask questions afterwards, okay, after the talk. But we invite a staff member from the FNS program to come and answer any questions if you have any, okay? So anyway, so you already figured out where we are now, all right? This is Moment Y building, all right? So pay attention, we do have actually two Moment Y building here. That's another one, like it's called ERB, all right? It's another Moment Y building in the engineering school, okay? But you came to the right place, okay? Hopefully we don't have another batch of people went to the wrong Moment Y. All right, so for SLS, okay, we have a pretty big school. Okay, you can consider a department, but because we have many programs, so we are actually a School of Life Sciences. We have offices in the Science Center, all right, okay. Then Moment Y here, we also have another administration office on the 6th floor. We have a couple research lab here on the 5th and 6th floor as well. Okay, but most of our research labs and also professors' offices are at the Science Center. Okay, Science Center East Block, the South Block, and then the Rainbow Building. Okay, you guys probably have seen this from the train station, right? Okay, our SSB is actually also where most of our SLS labs are actually located at. Okay, so that's the location. But most important, of course, like why you want to pick a major in SLS, right? So before I go into the details about the different programs, I want to make sure you understand that college education is not only about giving you the specific knowledge about the major you are going to take, all right? It's more or less on the generic skills that help you to survive after you graduate from university. So of course, in SLS, you're going to learn a lot about life sciences major, right? We have molecular biology, we have biochemistry, we have cell biology, we have food and nutritional science, we have very specific topics. But most importantly, what you really want to acquire, all right, from your college education is the generic skills for logical and critical thinking, okay? Being able to logical and critically think after 4 years of college. Okay, analytical and problem-solving skills. In science, this is particularly important, right? We give you, we will perform research, we'll do experiments, we'll get experimental data, and then, of course, you need to be able to interpret the data or do analytical analysis. And if you encounter a problem, you do troubleshooting, okay, problem-solving. Collaborative skills, okay, like in the society, this is one thing you definitely cannot miss. And SLS will definitely give you plenty of opportunity, for presentation, for laboratory works. Then you're going to learn a lot about collaboration, proactive and responsible attitude. Okay, as a college student, try not to skip your class. All right, that's the first thing, to build up a proactive and responsible attitude. And then, of course, throughout the learning, in different scientific courses, or again, doesn't have to be scientific courses. If you don't pick SLS, perfectly fine. But make sure that you develop a proactive and responsible attitude about responsible working ethics, all right, like being responsible for whatever jobs, you carry out, and morally and ethically, like stay bound, to, the requirement, set by a specific field, okay? Efficient writing and communication skills, this is actually the most important part. You guys finished DSE, you have learned a lot of English writing, you have learned a lot of oral presentation, right? You guys have the oral examination during DSE exams. But we need to take it to another level because you need to bring it to the society. You're not going to answer standard questions, okay? Or standard DSE questions that, you can probably, learn and like get trained, to, by going into tutor class and things like that. Here we're talking about you're going into the society. You're going to be able to write and communicate most likely in English with your clients, with your customers, with your supervisor, right? With your management levels, right? You know how to communicate between the different levels in both writing and verbally, okay? And as I mentioned, like the responsible attitude also related to your commitment to your ethical professionalism, okay? Meaning that doesn't matter, what you're doing. You're going to be engineers, you're going to be like mathematicians, physicists, life scientists. We have our own ethical code, all right? For whatever career you're going to work in or pick up, there's always some ethical codes that you should learn to stay bound with it, okay? So this sounds like really generic stuff, right? But to be honest, a lot of students, like they might panic in their third year, fourth year after picking certain major because eventually they sort of think that they have picked the wrong major. Okay, you probably have also heard about these kind of stories. People really panic, thinking this is not the right major. They don't want to stay in the same field after they graduate. And they get depressed and things. And my suggestions to many of these students I met before is like, don't panic. Why do you need panic? There's many routes, right? You pick science, and eventually, year 4, you don't think research, you don't think science is suitable for you, then change, all right? Change your career path, all right? You don't need to really do bioscience, you don't need to do biochemistry, you don't need to do whatever you were trained for because you already acquired the genetic skills. For example, you've done an experiment, as I mentioned, right? You can collect data. Then you need to do data analysis, right? And then you need to be able to interpret it and do the problem solving. And that skills, if you think about that, if you go into the financial industry, all right, the stock market going up and down, all right, those like all these data, all these analysis done by people in the stock market, you look at the data and trying to figure out what's the trend for the next couple months, right? That's actually data analysis, right? That's actually problem solving right there. So you learn those generic skills during your scientific training. Okay, it doesn't have to be really fully scientific, but you learn the generic skills about data analysis, right? Critical thinking, problem solving. Think about that, all right? iPhone 15 is coming up. I always use this analog. You want to go to telecom industry, you want to do in the IT industry, for example. You want to start doing marketing. Right? How are you going to go into a marketing industry with a biochemistry major degree, for example? Then you need to show them, again, you can do data analysis. What's the market share for iPhone in Hong Kong, right? How many people are using iPhone versus, Android phones, right? Those data analysis, okay? And how do you improve your sales rate, how do you attract people, to switch to this phone, and that's problem solving, right? So it's generic skills, and then you get this data analysis, and what you're going to learn in SLS is, for example, I mentioned communication, right? Verbal and written communication. You're going to write a report. You're going to do a PowerPoint presentation, just like what I'm doing here. You can do the same thing for the iPhone 15, right? It doesn't have to be, like the specific protein pathway you studied for the past 3 years, right? You already have the skills, okay, to consolidate the data you have collected, you do the analysis, you write a report, and you can do a presentation to your supervisor, right? To the marketing team or to the sales team. Same thing, all right? So these kind of skills are the one that I just mentioned, at the beginning, all right, of these slides to help you survive in the society, okay? Doesn't matter what major, okay, you are taking, all right? So these are the generic skills you definitely want to acquire during your 4 years college here. College education here at CUHK, all right? So I think most major can provide you that, but for science, we are particularly focusing on the logical, critical thinking, and also data analysis part, okay? So that might help you in the society, if you are doing something related. Okay, so don't panic, all right? And then if you panic, we have academic advice, and I'll talk about that later, okay? So, of course, I need to introduce the 5 majors to you, right? That's the purpose we are here. So, biology, all right, that's actually, the very first program. It was actually Department of Biology, and we next have the Department of Biochemistry, okay? And now you don't see this department because, we joined force in about 2011, and now become the School of Life Sciences. And now we offer 5 programs in total. We still offer the biology program. Okay, so the biology program, students taking it will learn materials, will gain knowledge, all the way from the molecular architecture, or at the molecular level, how cell works, and all the way to the ecosystem, how the entire environment works together. That is particular emphasis on plants, human, and marine biology. Okay, and you will be learning some organismal physiology, which is not going to cover, in other programs. And then for students who are actually particularly interested in going back to high school, elementary school, to have a teaching career, biology program is specifically designed for that, all right? Particularly this year, we actually also start a new course for helping biology students to develop a teaching career. Okay, so if you're interested in that, then biology, could be a major for you. And then biochemistry. Biochemistry, we don't look at the ecosystem that much, but we do focus in the reactions, okay, the chemical processes in the cell and also the living organism. Okay, in our school, CUHK SLS, we particularly focus, of course, on the human physiology and also, human cellular mechanism, okay, how things work in our body, so that we will have a better understanding, when things goes wrong, okay, when certain cellular mechanism goes wrong, disease develop, then, how we tackle that kind of problem, all right? We do have, specific focus in clinical and biomedical sciences, okay? So you might be confused that, we have SBS, right? We have School of Biomedical Sciences, offers very similar program like biomedical sciences, but biomedical sciences pretty much focus on human being only, okay? In our school, we focus on human being, but also other organisms, plants, okay, microbes, okay, and also marine biology, as I said. So you actually can learn, a lot about biomedical sciences, but in a broader scope, okay? So, and we also focus on the research and technology development to make sure if you want to stay in biochemical research later, you will have the skills to do so. And if you want to do more application, okay, you don't want to learn so much about disease mechanism, I want to directly apply whatever you learn in life sciences, then we have molecular biotechnology. Okay, so this is the application of knowledge in genetic engineering, protein engineering into real life, okay, to tackle real life problem, okay. We have specific courses focusing on application of technology, microbes in plants, in animals, so on, okay, which you can use to improve agriculture, designing new drugs, okay, for vaccine development, for example, and so on and so forth. All right. Okay, so we have cell and molecular biology. We have a couple slides, at the back, and later, if you want these slides, I can ask the department to send it to you too. So, all right, don't worry, if you need something. So these CMBI focus on the cell and molecular biology, omics, This might confuse a lot of students, particular students who actually interested in cellular mechanism, all right, understanding how life works, how disease actually develop. This because in particular it's very similar to biochemistry. Okay, we still look at the molecular level, how chemical processes happen, how life happens, how cell function. But CMBI is specifically target. We design the courses to target students who are particularly interested in research career. Means that you actually want to continue after college, okay? After CUHK, you want to do a master, you want to do a PhD, you want to actually go into a lab to do research. CMBI will specifically design the course and put a very strong emphasis on scientific writing and communication. Okay, I mentioned that writing and communication is something that, in general, is a generic skills our school will provide. But that not necessarily means that you can write in a very professional manner, on writing scientific papers or designing a scientific project or writing a scientific proposal. So CMBI was specifically designed for that. All right, this is a course. This is a major for students who actually already know they have a strong interest in research. So not only lab skills in the fields of CMB, or cell and molecular biology, we also emphasize on scientific writing and communication, okay? And of course, FNS is very different from the other four, focusing on food chemistry, nutritional chemistry, nutritional biochemistry, okay, quality control, food safety issues and things like that. And we also have a new nutritionist stream, okay, which is the only accredited program in Hong Kong by the UK Association for Nutrition. Again, I don't have much knowledge on that, and we will have a staff from FNS to come answer questions if you have any. So far, so good? Following me? Okay, right? So the good part about SLS is we actually, because you come or join CUHK through the broad-based Jupas line, okay, so if you don't have, all right, any background in biology, but you have interest still in, exploring whether SLS is good for you, we actually sort of customize our curriculum for that. Okay, so it doesn't matter whether you have biology training or not. Of course, if you have biology, DSE, it will be easier, but if not, we also have some fundamental courses to help you out, okay? So you can come in at broad-based admission. We offer faculty package in the first year, all right? So these are very basic courses, fundamental courses on modern chemistry, okay? We prefer you to take organic chemistry, but if you don't have a strong background in chemistry, you haven't taken chemistry, during a DSD, you can take the general chemistry, the modern chemistry, okay, to get yourself trained for the later courses. And then we also have an introductory course to biological sciences, all right, LSCI 102, which most students will have to take in the SLS. Again, if you don't have any biology background, you didn't take biology DSE, we actually has another course, I forgot to list it here, it's LSCI 1001, which actually help those students who haven't taken DSE biology before to start building up the knowledge on biology. Okay, so we actually has a backup plan for you. Okay, so after you finish these fundamental courses, year 2, you are going to start exploring on the fundamentals of different majors. Okay, again, these are required for all SLS students. Doesn't matter which program you're taking, you will still need to take genetics, ecology, cell biology, some biochemistry courses you can see here. So the idea is we're going to give you an introduction to a major that you has a potential or likeliness in developing a career in, okay? So we want to give you a taste first, okay, before you make up your mind. All right, so for SLS, you can declare major in the end of first year. You can also declare major actually only after you finish all the courses in year 2, okay? After you have a taste of all these different courses, biochemistry, cell and molecular biology, or food sciences, then you can make up your mind whether you want to take up whatever major in SLS. Okay, so we give you this flexibility for 2 whole years. Okay, before you decide. So once you decide, then 3rd year, 4th year, you're going to take the elective majors courses from some major courses and elective courses from the specific major you have decided to take. All right, so you have a lot of options. And because we want to make it practical, we want to make sure that if you want to develop a scientific career, you will be able to do so. A lot of the courses are actually labs, workshop, student-oriented courses, and supervised research courses. Will give you plenty of chances for practical experiences. So in case you're still confused, okay, so give you a broad picture, we take away the FNS. Again, it's a very unique stream, unique program on food and nutrition science. But, if you take a bigger picture on what we have experienced the past 3-4 years, right? COVID-19, how the different major apply, to the understanding of this. For example, where the virus comes from, right? We are claiming that it might be coming from a bat, from some kind of wild animal, or how the virus survived there and how that animal still survive with those viruses, how they interact with the different organisms in the field. That's biology, all right? The bigger picture, right? The bigger picture on the ecosystem, the ecology. And then when the virus infects us, how exactly they contact or interact with our cells receptor, how it actually causes disease, all right? At the molecular level. Okay, we're not talking about. You have heard a lot about the viral spike protein, right? With many professors on the television told you, that's spike protein interacting with the receptor on our cells. Okay, that is the very general picture, overall picture of how things work. We are looking at, if you're taking the major here, we are particularly in biochemistry, we are looking at specific amino acids from the virus, how it interacts with specific amino acids or proteins on the cell, and how actually that facilitates, for example, the invasion of the virus to our cells. Okay, so we are looking at the molecular details. We are looking at the atomic level. Okay, we'll be looking at how atoms from the virus, the molecules from virus, the atoms from the virus interact with the atoms in our cells and cause disease. Okay, it's that biochemistry. That's how details we'll be looking at life in biochemistry. And then how that affects our cellular functions and cause disease, how it disrupts the function of the cell so we get sick. So that's biochemistry and as well as cell and molecular biology. Okay, so right there, that's the 2 major we'll cover. All right, everything that happens in the cell. For example, we know the spike protein structure, all right, molecular structure. You may not heard about it, but the mRNA vaccines, all right, the Comirnaty, okay, the one from BioNTech, was designed after we look at the 3D structure, molecular structure, all right, at the atomic level, how the spike protein of SARS-CoV looks like before we actually can design those mRNA. Okay, so right there, you see the impact, why we need to study life science, right? So without that, we won't even have the mRNA vaccines, okay? So we look at the structure, we design the vaccines, and then you need to apply to human beings, right? Before that, we need to study them in model organism, for example. So the model organism that raised for this study through molecular biotechnology. We need to actually genetic engineer those animals. Okay, hamster, rats, they don't get infected by SARS-CoV-2. All right, you have heard that cats and dogs in our house, they are not susceptible to the virus, so we don't need to, remember, at the beginning of the pandemic, people are very scared, once they get sick, they worry that the animals will get sick as well, right? So it turns out animals, they don't get sick, right? So in order to develop a model organism to get sick, to test our drugs, to test the vaccines, we actually need to build up new model organism. Okay, so that's molecular biotechnology. All right, better picture? Okay, so again, we'll go through this again, but very quickly, biology, college in biological sciences, that will be courses specifically teaching you on genetics, evolution, but most importantly, our biology program focuses on biodiversity and conservation. Okay, we have a lot of different research programs. We have, how many of you have heard about the Coral Academy? Coral Academy? No one? Okay, so this is specific like coral conservation program started from one of the professors in our school. You will learn about that. You will learn about how marine biology works. Like how the life developed, and how you can do conservation work by understanding about the biology. Okay, how the diversity is important for our ecosystem, for our health, for our good beings. For example, simples like bees, right? How many of you have heard that, when bee extincts, we extinct? How many of you have heard about that? The importance of insects, like, for pollination and things like that. Imagine those, right? About diversity, without insects doing the pollination for us, plants won't grow, crops won't grow, then, we are going to extinct together with them. So that's the important for biodiversity and conservation. Okay, so as I said, there are different courses. So don't worry, these actually can be found on the biology program website under the SLS website. So if you're interested in looking into the details, you can look at that. So we have we customize different areas for people who want to be a biology teacher, who are actually interested in organismal biology or human biology, if you want to specifically look at human beings only. And biochemistry, I mentioned that we look at atomic level, try and understand the molecular mechanisms in cells, and more importantly, diseases. All right, so this is where you can use knowledge we learn from life sciences to help the society. All right, drug development, for example. Okay, biochemical technology, PCR, red tests, those are actually based on knowledge from biochemistry. So it's not clear here, all right, but what I'm showing here is, actually some slides are gone. Okay, so here is the molecular mechanism of how some proteins cause cancer, all right? This is a BCR-ABL pathway, which exists in leukemia patients. So by knowing those, okay, we can develop drugs, all right, targeting specific protein targets and develop what we call target therapeutics. How many of you have heard about target therapeutics? Right? You guys heard about that, right? Cancer these days, other than chemotherapy, we need, some patients can be benefit from specific drugs that target specific cancer-causing pathway called target therapy. So that's the design of target therapeutics. We need to have a target first before we can develop a therapeutics that has a target therapeutics, right? So biochemistry will show us the target, will help us to learn and understand what targets could be targeted by therapies, okay? So that's the very first generation of anti-kinase target therapeutics, all right? But again, before we can have a drug, we need to first understand the mechanism. Okay, so the biochemistry, has many, again, we have generally different focuses, like we have clinical, biomedical science, if you want to, particularly doing something related to clinical sciences. We have biomedical technology, okay, and then we also have biochemistry for environment, if you are thinking about the bigger picture, or, how to do conservation. So MBT, all right, so MBT is the application of molecular biology techniques, knowledge, how DNA works, how DNA are copies, and then these days you probably have, some of you have taken recombinant technology module from the DSE. And now we can manipulate DNA, all right? After learning some courses from our school, you can actually manipulate DNA at will these days. You can manipulate DNA in cells, in human cells, animal cells, plant cells, microbes, doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want, and that is the basis for genetic and protein engineering. So why do we want to do that? We want to engineer better food, better crops, all right, that grow healthier, more nutritional, more nutritional, and then, you can also use the technology to develop medicine, all right, stem cells therapy, like a lot of other applications, okay? So again, we have specific course designed for that, but because this is a very specific field, so you will be learning, how to apply biotechnology techniques in animals, in plants, in microbes. I already mentioned about that, but also, we have some courses to help you to get into the business, all right, the biotechnology business as well. So if you are thinking of, more application side, and, this is, or industrial side, this might be a program for you. And then we have the CMB, right? And I mentioned, it's going to be specifically targeting for students who have a strong interest in research, in developing a research career. Okay, we'll be looking at the cell. We have a lot of advanced techniques course in this particular major. We have, again, customized, the courses. So you will have a very broad pictures on the cell, at the cell biology level, at the cellular level, but at the same time, at the global omics level. All right. But one thing I want to highlight is this one here. In year 2, you will have an entire year of training on scientific writing, okay, and project synthesis. Okay, so you're going to learn how to write scientifically, and at the same time generate a scientific project on your own. Okay, we are training you to become a future scientist in this major. All right, and then we have the FNS. Our FNS staff is here in case you are interested in asking more questions on that. I don't have much knowledge, but we do offer you practical knowledge in nutrition and food science technology. Okay, strategy to tackle food safety and nutritional problems. I already mentioned that. But more importantly, you cannot be a dietitian. All right, in case that's what you're thinking, you need to further your study. We do have a nutritionist stream. But again, the requirement, all these, I'll leave that, to my colleagues here. Okay, so I won't go into too much details. All right, so I mentioned, 40% of our courses are practical, lab-based, but other than that, you still have more opportunities to do research. In case you are having a very strong scientific mind and want to experience more, okay? So we have many programs that you can find under our webpage. You can go to our SLS webpage, go to undergraduate program, go to the special programs and look at the different one. I'll go through a couple ones for you. For example, we have a BBSA program for students who are interested in research and actually exchange. So this is a joint program with UC Berkeley in Bay Area, California, and students who admitted to this program will take a term of study at UC Berkeley. Okay, those courses you take there, it's going to be fully transferable back to CUHK. You won't waste any time there. But more importantly, you are fully supported by the school to study there for that term, and you can also, meet scientists there and participate in research work there. If you are planned it, if you plan early and you plan your visit well. Okay, so it's competitive. Okay, but it's a really precious opportunity for students, who actually, has a intention of, studying abroad or, doing research later. Again, a lot of things is related to research. We do wish our students, to consider a further research career. We have also a dedicated research exchange and mentorship program, usually offering to students in the summer of the second year or third year summer. So they can actually go to our foreign collaborators lab to do research. Again, a summer, okay, you will receive, some support, but more importantly, you need to do life science research in some of the most renowned university or laboratory in the world. Okay, we have students going to Nobel Prize laureates lab, Harvard Medical School, Cambridge, Oxford. We have a lot of collaborators there to provide opportunities for you. If you don't know actually whether research is something suitable for you, you can actually start early and try it out first. Okay, in first year, we actually have something called SMART program. For year 1 student, you actually get paid. If you qualify for this program, You get paid to participate in a real research environment, all right, under one of the supervisor, one of the professors under School of Life Sciences. You're going to learn some techniques, okay? You are going to try out different techniques and see whether you like it or not, okay, before you go to the Berkeley program or the DREAM program. And how many of you have heard about iGEM? Any of your university, any of your high school participating in there? So this is actually an international competition on genetically engineering machine, okay, synthetic biology. This is actually open for our all students in our school. Many of our students actually in year 1, year 2 might want to join this because if you're interested, you're going to join a team, you're going to form a team, synthesize. This is a totally student-led competition, okay? Students synthesize an idea, a project, in synthetic engineering, and then you form a team and you go overseas for a competition, all right? So before it was always in Boston, this year is actually going in Paris, okay? So it's a very good opportunity and experience for people too, and you can see how research is really like, and compete against students around the world. So here are plenty of opportunities. As I mentioned, these are just some examples of universities we have sent students to, okay? If you don't want to do research, you want to find a more job related, okay, or career oriented opportunities. We also have that, okay? We have a lot of internship opportunities, okay? Research, ocean park for conservation, so on and so forth. All right, here is a career prospect. You can find that actually on our school website as well. You can see actually a lot of students going for postgraduate study afterwards, about 40% to up to, in CMBI, up to 60%, okay? Because we specifically want students want to do research, right? But of course, you can directly go into the industry. You don't want to, further your study. You want to just earn money directly or right away. You can do research work, go to government sector, commercial sector. We have those sectors in Hong Kong. You might not believe it, but for example, jockey club, right? Jockey club like horse racing, right? How jockey clubs is related to life sciences. So actually, for every single race, every single horse, and every single jockey, they need to get tested for enhancement drugs, for example. So that actually a lot of testing, a lot of biochemical testing that require the knowledge of life sciences. Okay, so right there. So there are a lot of opportunities, but most importantly, if you want to go to do research later, you can do so. And you might be very worried that why do I need to get another degree? So don't worry, because when you get the second degree, the PhD or master program, actually you get paid. How many of you knows that you actually get paid to get a doctoral degree? Okay, so someone, assistant student, some of our staff here. So you might have heard very scary story, you graduate from a life science program or you're doing sciences and then you have no jobs. Maybe it's very competitive, but continuing studying is not a bad thing because, so for master program, for PhD, for postgraduate study, okay, many of our parents, many of our students actually has the misconception that we need to dish out another 200,000, 300,000 Hong Kong dollars for additional degrees. That actually is for our course-based program, which means that you're going to take a year or 2 year more of courses, okay, in a lecture room, all right? But that actually is designed for people who already are in the workforce and need a higher degree for promotion or to advance the career, okay? But if you are actually interested in research, or in particular, you are actually interested in joining the biomedical field, joining the pharmaceutical field, you want to go to a big farm like, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson overseas, then you actually need to get a high degree, like a PhD or MPhil. And you are paid to get that degrees. Okay, of course, if you are qualified. Okay, if you are qualified, if you actually apply for MPhil or PhD, This year, I think this is actually not, I don't know whether this is the most updated stipend, but $18,000 per month are paid to you for 4 years to get your degrees. Okay, so you get paid to get a PhD. All right, so tell your parents about that. All right, and think about that. Because once you're done with your PhD, you get the ticket. You get the global air ticket to any countries you want. Because all countries has specific their own 搶人才計劃. Okay, every country has their own elite program to recruit PhD level people and give them passport, give them citizenship, because they need those people to develop the pharmaceutical, the biotechnology industry. Okay, so right there, you can either go overseas to get a job in Hong Kong, all right, start your own company, start your own, biomedical startup, or you want to be a professor later, lecturers later, you can continue doing postdoctoral research and so on and so forth. Okay, I won't spend too much time on that, okay? But in case you are confused, like, what are all these research, like so advanced and, so distal from what you have learned in high school, right? You can actually start exploring right now in your year 1, okay? You might not know what all these figures, everything about, but you can start actually doing it while you are learning it, okay? You can, through your practical experience, learn about this. So you can go to our website again, go to check out individual academic staff. All right, you can click on our teaching staff, and actually we will show what type of techniques, research technique or scientific techniques we use, and what type of study we do in our lab. Okay, go through that. In case you're confused, you still couldn't figure out, you still couldn't decide, you don't know what to do right now, or 3 years later down the road, when you're about to graduate, we are here to help. Okay, we have academic advising and mentoring program. You might not have get assigned one yet, but I think soon you will be. You can actually check on your academic progress, and you will find your academic advisor. Supposedly, we will contact you actually once a year to meet up. And if you miss your email, it's okay. You are welcome to email them anytime you want. Okay. So I spent quite a bit of time on SLS, but before we go to Q&A, we actually has a sustainability and development program here for GE Education. So we have some staff here to introduce to you. We welcome Dr. Lee for another 5 minutes introduction first before we go to the Q&A on SLS. Okay.